Did you think you would be a successful college student when you were in high school? What if your scores on the SAT or ACT determined that? When one thinks of a successful college student, they usually think of a straight A student in the top of their class with several extracurricular activities and a lot of positions of leadership. Universities and colleges around the United States often use standardized tests such as the SAT or ACT to also determine whether to admit students into their institutions. The Cambridge Dictionary defines SAT, the Scholastic Aptitude Test, as one of the two tests for entering college that measure students' abilities and skills. The ACT, American College Testing, is defined as a standardized college admissions test measuring English, math, reading, and science skills. SAT scores and ACT scores have become critical components of the scholarship and admissions procedures for many universities. Both tests are considered a valid assessment of college success, but some sources beg to differ. I think that the use of standardized tests such as the SAT or ACT is an unfair way of determining a university's success because they are biased against certain groups, they don't show full potential, and they lack criteria-related validity. I will go more in depth on why these tests are not good predictors of college success in this speech. Standardized testing, like the SAT and ACT, are biased against women and minorities. The National Center for Fair and Open Testing states that despite the fact that females earn higher grades throughout both high school and college, they consistently receive lower scores on SAT than they do their male counterparts. In 2001, females averaged 35 points lower than males on the math section of the test and 3 points lower on the verbal section. They also state that even though the gender gap has narrowed significantly, on the ACT, women's composite score averaged 0.2 points lower than men's. On the ACT, they also scored significantly lower in the math and science sections. A reason for this is because of the biased nature of the questions. A 1989 study by Phyllis Rosser, the SAT gender gap identified in causes, found that the vast majority of questions exhibiting large gender differences in correct rates were biased in favor of males, despite females' superior academic performance. Biases make the SAT and ACT an inaccurate measure of college aptitude. For these students, high school grades and AP test scores may be a better predictor of college success because they measure a student's work ethic and student study habits. Another bias presented in standardized testing will be income bias. Students that come from higher income families do better on these tests. High income families are usually composed of parents who attended college and they value the need for good education. These families will likely hire tutoring and other resources to help their children succeed on these tests. Low income families are usually composed of parents who do not enter college. This makes it harder for their children to get help in preparing for standardized tests because of lack of funds and knowledge about these tests. The proof of this is represented in the graph pictured that shows that an increase in income is associated with an increase in test scores. So as you can see on the bottom, it's like as the income gets higher, the test scores of the students increase. Now that I've spoken about the bias presented in standardized testing, I can move on to how SAT and ACT also don't show students' full potential. Standardized testing can also sometimes not show full potential. In many ways, the SAT is a test of endurance because if you lose focus after a while, your score will definitely suffer. They are tests of endurance because of the nature of the test, which is like a long one. So the SAT is 3 hours and 45 minutes, and the ACT is 3 hours and 35 minutes with the writing section. These tests are designed to show endurance and not how much you actually learned in high school. Some people also suffer from test anxiety, which is a psychological condition in which people experience extreme distress and anxiety in testing situations. Even if you study and prepare well, the anxiety of taking the actual test can be overwhelming. This severely limits sufferers from doing well on SATs or ACTs, which in turn could lead to a university or college thinking that they won't be successful in their institution. Because these tests don't show currently how well you do, they don't factor into your college years. Now that I have discussed how the SAT and ACT don't show your full potential, I can move on to how they also lack criteria-related validity. Standardized tests lack validity on a grand scale. More specifically, the SAT lacks criteria-related validity, which refers to the fact that a student has to show mastery of certain criteria or data that has been learned. The SAT is an aptitude test, which means that it measures a student's ability to learn and frequently presents problems in ways that challenge students to solve logical puzzles. This test also inherently is supposed to measure a student's aptitude for success in college. Therefore, if it is not testing them on things that they have actually learned, it cannot predict how well they could or would do in the future at the college level because it doesn't show students' study skills and learning strategies, which are both useful for college success. In summary, I've discussed why standardized tests are not good benchmarks for university and college success. Both the College Board and ACT Inc. argue that their tests are designed to predict first-year students' grades. All of the National Center for Fair and Open Testing points out that the research done by test creators indicates that high school grades more accurately predict college success. These tests, as I mentioned previously, are biased, they don't show full potential, and lack criterion-related validity. College admittance tests might be used for placement exams, but they are not a factor that predicts a student's success. Are there any questions? Okay.